Welcome to the Office Hours Admissions Edition here at Dartmouth College. My name is Brian Estrada, and I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here at Dartmouth. Been working really hard the last few days finalizing early decision or finalizing the early decision process. Some of you may be applicants in the early decision applicant pool, and you should have received word this week that those decisions will be going up on Friday. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. And I'm joined by a Dartmouth student, Kevin McGregor, and I'll let Kevin introduce himself and then talk more about what we're here to do.
Yeah, hey, I'm Kevin McGregor. I'm a member of the class of 2011. I'll be around for an extra year, so don't worry. You'll probably see me around if you decide to come to Dartmouth. I'm, as I said, member of class of 2011. I'm from Russellville, Arkansas, and I'm studying mechanical engineering here at the Thayer School.
All right. And so this is, we're here to chat a little bit about the Thayer School of Engineering here at Dartmouth, and many of you are probably, if you're tuning into this chat, probably interested in studying engineering, but may have some questions about how the Thayer program works and how engineering goes here at Dartmouth. And so, I think we're going to be answering questions that you have. If you want to throw them into the chat, we'll try to address some of those. But we're also going to try to learn more about Thayer's program and the unique approach to engineering at Dartmouth through Kevin's experiences, and just to provide a very simple overview of the undergraduate engineering program here at Dartmouth. Engineering sciences is an undergraduate major here at the college. We offer both. Dartmouth offers both what we call the AB degree, or the Bachelor of Arts degree in engineering sciences, as well as the professional Bachelor of Engineering degree, and we'll be able to flesh out a little bit of the difference there in a moment. But engineering is one of those really interesting components to Dartmouth College that really is emblematic of some of the interesting qualities that Dartmouth brings together. When you think about having an engineering program in the context of a liberal arts undergraduate education, it's an interesting component and not always something that's not always available. There's also thinking about having such a talented, innovative faculty, creative faculty who are really leaders in their fields, leaders in research, but bringing those talents directly to undergraduates. And in the context of a relatively small engineering school, in the context of the smallest school in the Ivy League, but a place that still is very much a research university. And so I think that there's really interesting components to engineering that are representative of a lot of the really neat qualities of Dartmouth College. And so I will not say any more about that, but I do want to launch into first question for Kevin. And one of the distinctive qualities of the engineering program here is that Thayer is not organized into academic departments. They're quite intentional about that. But it also raises, I think, a lot of questions from prospective students who are used to seeing those finite departments, discrete departments in the program. And just so you all know, at the moment there is some footage of the Thayer School that's playing that'll give you a kind of a visual tour of Thayer. But while that's going, we'll let Kevin kind of launch into what has it been like to study engineering at Dartmouth without departments. What's your path been?
Yeah, no, it's great. And I don't just say that because I'm here at Dartmouth and I'm trying to justify it to myself. I really think that that having the ability to take courses in a variety of engineering disciplines, I guess they'd best be described as, without departments. There are still courses that focus on electronics, on mechanical aspects, on structural mechanics, and that sort of thing. So there are still courses that are classifiable by overall disciplines, but what it does is it makes the engineering school a more common body. I spend much of my day in the engineering school, and I spend it alongside electrical engineers and mechanical or engineers. So many of my friends are pursuing BEs with a specified within a specified area, as I am. I'm pursuing mechanical, but it's a much more kind of like communal aspect, and there's a lot of courses that are taught as general engineering courses. There's systems courses that address electrical and mechanical and even natural systems. So it makes everything gel together in a really, really cool way that I think kind of helps the educational process.
And so you have pursued a specific area of concentration within engineering, and it's mechanical engineering specifically.
Yeah.
And so how have you put that program together? How did maybe your early experiences in Thayer courses sort of influence the direction that you ultimately took?
Yeah, so I came in with a pretty good idea that I wanted to pursue mechanical. My freshman year was spent doing mostly taking care of general education requirements and in taking care of prereqs. I come from Arkansas, and public education doesn't really set someone up to clep out of the science and math courses in the ways that some of you may be able to. But I should say that it's absolutely possible to come in here with very few science and math credits and still do just fine. So yeah, I came in, took care of that freshman year, and then my sophomore year, I took the introduction to the design method on Engines 21. So really, really cool hands-on class, and it's a group project-based class, and my group and I built a bike that grows with kids from age 6 to 12. So it extends and it gets taller, so that it's safe to ride for a wider range of kids, and that really like solidified for me that I wanted to keep pursuing mechanical engineering. And I went on and took a solid mechanics course that I really enjoyed, and from there I just dove in head first and haven't really looked back.
Are you planning to pursue not only your AB degree in engineering sciences, but also the Bachelor of Engineering degree?
I am. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be around for an extra 2 terms next fall and winter to finish off my culminating experience for the Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Engineering Sciences, that is. And for that, I'll be focusing, as I said, in mechanical engineering. So I do plan to get the BE in the next sometime in the next 4 terms. I'll be sitting for the FE, the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, and that is sort of like the beginning of the process to become a professional engineer, which I do intend to do.
Mm-hmm. And how would you characterize, the differences between what the AB program has covered versus what you will, I guess you're looking into the future, what you're going to be learning once you get into that Bachelor of Engineering coursework?
Certainly. The predominant difference is really just the number of courses that are required. To get the AB, I believe it is 9 specific courses, and so that makes it more attainable in a standard 4-year window. It's pretty common at Thayer to take an extra 2 or 3 terms beyond the 4-year norm to finish out a BE, because being a Dartmouth student first, we do still have to take all we get to, I should say, all the general education requirements to graduate as a Dartmouth student. So the AB is really, really accessible in the 4-year window, and then the BE just adds more concentration. So you can graduate with the AB as a general engineer, and then focus a little bit, take a few more courses, and then graduate with a BE in a specified area. I hope that helps.
No, I think that's helpful. Want to transition a little bit from the structure of the program and how you've navigated it to some of the unique and interesting opportunities that you've had as an engineering student, and thinking about opportunities beyond the classroom, even beyond your standard academic terms, ways that you've been able to pursue pursue your engineering education beyond the classroom and even beyond Dartmouth, and you want to speak about some of the things that you've been able to do.
Yeah, where to start really becomes the problem. I guess a chronological approach will work. So after my freshman year, I was a member of the Dartmouth Big Green Bus. You may be able to find a website of this year's bus program. It's been going for, I believe, 7 years now. I was on the 4th Big Green Bus. My year we used a converted school bus, and we toured the country talking about renewable energy and environmental topics. I was an apprentice engineer at the time because of my lack of engineering coursework at the time, but it gave me a really great chance to get hands-on, crawling around under an old school bus, connecting wires and hoses and all sorts of stuff to get our vegetable oil system running. So it was a really, really cool experience. Came back from that, went straight into Engines 21, that first design course that really got my hands covered in mud. Realized I loved it. And then, so that's the spring of my sophomore year, I took off, which is a pretty common thing to do at Dartmouth to balance out the sophomore summer. So I took my spring term off, and I worked for a design firm in Seattle. That I had actually, it's a really cool story. I'd met a Dartmouth grad who worked at Synapse, this design firm, while I was on the Big Green Bus when we went through Seattle. Had been talking with him throughout the year, sent him my design portfolio, told him all about the growing bike we had designed and all of that. And got myself a job there for the spring of my sophomore year, or an internship. It was great. I lived with a friend of mine there in Seattle. I could bike to work, all sorts of really cool stuff if you've never been to Seattle. And it was a great opportunity to use my nascent engineering skills and to grow them alongside Dartmouth alums. It's a pretty small office, but has a huge number of Dartmouth alums that work there as mechanical and electrical engineers. So that's Synapse. And then I came back. I did my sophomore summer here. I took 3 courses, one of which was an earth science course that I really, really liked. And so I decided to go on the earth science FSP, which we really like to call the stretch, even though we don't know why we call it the stretch. We just do. And so, that was basically myself and 11 other juniors in 2 big vans with professors and TAs driving around out west, looking at geological formations. We started out in Banff in Canada. Literally, we'd gone from summer here in Hanover, drove out and went straight to winter. We went up on a glacier and we're getting snowed on, and then we proceeded south throughout the fall. And that was absolutely wonderful, an incredible experience that is pretty unique to Dartmouth. Other geology programs do field study, but not in the way that we got to cover so much ground, which was really cool. And I get to use the science courses, those upper-level science courses that I took during the stretch. I get to count those toward my BE. So it's really cool how you can fold in other areas of interest into an engineering degree. So I'll both get to minor in earth science and use those courses towards the BE.
I think we have actually some pictures that you sent us that are currently up on the screen for people you want to talk about.
Cool, yeah. So this was one of our days off. We would work generally 6 days out of the week doing field mapping activities, and that sort of hands-on work. And then, of course, because we were a bunch of outdoorsy type of people, we tend to go outside for our 7th day of the week, our day off. And so here we were in Zion Canyon. We had just hiked up Angel's Landing. It's absolutely gorgeous hike. And then we were looking back down into the canyon. And I convinced a friend of mine to take a picture of me there. Cool. So this is actually all the students. Let's see. Yeah, some of us better clothed than others. We were out in the desert in Utah at a dinosaur track site, which is really, really cool. You can see dinosaur footprints in the mud and kind of like try to like picture the story that was happening and is told by the footprints. But yeah, so you get to be outside all the time. And then this is actually like completely outside of coursework. This is a picture of myself and 3 friends. Or actually, I'm not in that picture. Just kidding. 3 friends of mine and a friend of ours kayaking in Ecuador. There's a great outdoors club here. This is completely outside of again the coursework, but there's a great outdoors club and all sorts of opportunities to do cool travel. This is actually 2 of those 3 kids pictured are also engineers, but yeah, there's all sorts of stuff outside of engineering to keep yourself entertained as well. And then let's see, yeah, here that's the school bus that I spent a summer with 12 kids touring the country on, parked in Chicago. And then this is one I haven't talked much about. Last summer, I went to Tanzania to work with Dartmouth Humanitarian Engineering, and my friend Ryan and I, pictured there with a friend of ours, Hafsa, worked to develop stoves that can burn coffee husks in a coffee-growing region in Tanzania. So really, like, it's been an incredible experience. I'm actually making plans to go back next summer to work with the same women that were helping us to design and improve our stoves. So it's been really an important part of me finding where I want to go with engineering and what engineering can do for the world. So that's a great picture. Cool.
Yeah. So from Arkansas to Hanover to Seattle to all over the Western U.S. to Tanzania, I think that it's both a remarkable individual sort of progression and also not that unusual in terms of what Dartmouth students tend to find their way into through some of these opportunities that the college offers.
It's really it's hard not to. Like my parents keep saying, like, Kevin, you should come home for a little while, and it's tempting, of course, to like go home and spend time with your family, and I love my family very much. But when you've got the myriad opportunities that you have here at Dartmouth, there's so many other places to go and do cool things. So you'll never be lacking for excitement.
Yeah, and I think it's it's an important piece, I think, to talk about when talking about engineering, because oftentimes the study of engineering in college and international experiences, study abroad experiences, are often considered to be mutually exclusive, and I think as your experiences show, of course, one of your big off-campus program was within the U.S., but still pretty interesting. But through the humanitarian engineering programs to a place like Tanzania, or even the foreign study program that Thayer runs in Thailand, there's lots of opportunities to go abroad and have you had, I guess through fellow engineers, fellow students, heard about some of those experiences?
Yeah, 2 friends of mine were in the first trip that did the Thailand engineering FSP, foreign study program. And they really loved it. They got to take engineering courses that counted back here at Dartmouth, and got to do so alongside international students. So you kind of get to see how different educational systems prepare people differently for the work we're doing. And both, there was some back and forth, like some of the ways that Americans had learned their engineering concepts were beneficial to the Thai people they were working with, and vice versa. So they were really excited to be part of that, and to my knowledge, they're getting people ready to go this winter and spring as well. So it's a really, really cool opportunity, and one that's pretty unique to Dartmouth. I'm not aware of many other engineering schools of this caliber that offer opportunities to go and study engineering through Dartmouth or through that institution in a foreign country. So it's a really great thing.
So we have our first question to respond to from Reed, who is wondering if we could elaborate on the dual degree program, and I assume he's referring to the to the AB and the BE distinction. And if
Yeah.
and if you're not Reed,
No,
feel free to clarify.
Yeah, Reed, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So a number of peer institutions with Dartmouth offer what they call a 3-2 program, which is you spend 3 years studying liberal arts at a college like Colby or Middlebury, and then after, I think it's your junior year you spend here at Dartmouth. Your senior year, you go back to Middlebury or Colby or wherever else you may be interested in doing it, and then you'd come back here for a 5th year, and you finish out a BE in that period of time. So if for whatever reason there's a liberal arts institution that you feel like fits you better, but you still want to do engineering, it's a really great way to still get a bit of time here at Dartmouth. So I hope that's the dual degree you're. Yeah, great.
So
hope that.
Yeah, so nice partnership that they are maintains with some other colleges, although we're highly in favor of the come to Dartmouth the whole time approach as well.
Both certainly work. Yeah, Dartmouth has things to offer that I don't think a lot of smaller schools do, but yeah, I have a number of friends that have done that, and really treasure the time they get to spend here at Dartmouth.
So one of the things that does distinguish. Before we get into that, I guess I'll go into this other question. Well, this actually does. Okay, so let me get this question. So we've had a question asked about. Well, first, whether or not students have to apply to Thayer separately,
Nope.
And I can answer that one also from the admissions perspective, in that all undergraduate admissions at Dartmouth are made to the undergraduate college, and engineering sciences is a major within the college, and Dartmouth does not admit any students by intended major, nor does the admissions office maintain a certain number of seats to students planning and majoring in engineering or any other field. So you just apply to Dartmouth College. You're welcome to indicate an interest in engineering, on the Dartmouth supplement, but we're not admitting students by that intended major, and you don't apply directly to the Thayer School. Yeah. Another question about that's kind of where I was about to go anyway, was talking about whether or not students can major and minor, either double major in a non-engineering field or get a minor from a non-engineering field.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're getting a minor in earth sciences, so that's one example. But generally speaking, the chance to come to Dartmouth and study engineering, but also getting to engage pretty deeply with the liberal arts. How has that been for you, and how have you taken advantage of it?
It's been great. I just wrapped up a course, took the final yesterday, for a course in African American literature that I thought was absolutely incredible, and that kind of course taught at the just top of the line level that this course was taught. I don't think it's available at most engineering, or it's not available at most schools that offer a degree in engineering. It's one of the great things Thayer does. It allows you to study that with some of the brightest minds in engineering, while you can also take courses from the brightest minds in a number of other fields, which is really, really great. And in terms of the double majoring or the majoring in engineering and minoring, that's totally feasible outside of even the sciences. Like earth science may not be a good example of what you're asking about. I have engineering friends that have minored in everything from women and gender studies to English, to all over the board. You really, it takes some distinct focus that I don't think I have, but if you have two disparate but really passionate or areas you're passionate about, you can definitely find a way to do it. It's allowed, if that's the question.
Most definitely, and I think that the sort of the bureaucratic walls that separate an area like engineering from any other academic discipline on campus at a place like Dartmouth, those are really non-existent, and there's lots of moving across those lines, and some pretty well-established tracks that exist for particular interests. One of them being being architecture, and students with an interest there can actually pursue a modified major with engineering sciences and art and studio art. Kind of thinking about bridging the aesthetic and the technical sort of knowledge needed for a kind of pre-architecture preparation, and there's numerous examples of that. While we're waiting on our next question, people are often interested in job opportunities and recruitment that happens. Especially in your senior year, and you are in your senior year, although you're not planning to immediately leave Dartmouth. What have you observed about the opportunities that through it in terms of companies coming to try to recruit their students, peers of yours, and how their job searches are going? If you have any insight about that.
Yeah. What's really cool about Dartmouth is that Dartmouth maintains its alumni network really, really well towards helping people find jobs when they graduate from here. And Dartmouth alums tend to be very loyal in their habit of employing Dartmouth graduates. So for our career fair held earlier this fall, I guess that was back in October, we had a Thayer-specific career fair, and there were also career fairs up for the general campus for consulting and that sort of thing. The Thayer Career Fair had, I believe, 50 booths, which is impeccable that we could get that many companies here with such a small school. And that's because Thayer tends to put out really, really good engineers, and people know that. But what was the most impressive to me about that was the number of companies that were represented by alums at that. And we're really, really excited to meet Dartmouth students who are interested in their company. So it goes both ways in a way that I think at a lot of institutions, like, people are really excited about, say, GE or Siemens or whoever you want to work for. But here, we were stoked about them being here, and they were stoked to be talking to us, which was really exciting. I don't know if that answers your question.
That's
great.
That's great.
Yeah. Again, while we're waiting for another question, you referenced earlier, like, bureaucratic walls between different departments. It's really something that's funny for me to even think about, because I haven't run into that once here. For a while, I wanted to be a modified with studio art, and I pursued that and had no issues at all from either the art department or the engineering department. And when I decided I didn't want to do that, in fact, again, no qualms. There's a pretty popular saying down at Thayer, kind of in response to, like, thinking outside the box. At Thayer, we just say there is no box, and that goes for both, like, the building and the bureaucracy, and also the way that design thinking and engineering is approached. So I think we got another question.
Yeah. So Artie has asked, does Dartmouth have a school in Thailand, or do you study at a university over there? And the simple answer is that it's the latter. And this is the model for many of Dartmouth's FSPs and other off-campus programs, is that the college is administering these programs. These programs include a cohort of Dartmouth students, as well as at least one faculty member who's leading the program, but they are typically based at a university in the foreign country, and so that's true of the university in Bangkok, which unfortunately has a name I can't pronounce, and if you want to venture it, I can.
I wouldn't dare.
But it would be a university that Dartmouth students are going, and that's where they are kind of physically located while they're engaged in the off-campus program.
Yeah. And in terms of preserving, like, the quality of the Dartmouth education while you're abroad, I believe with all FSPs, and certainly with the engineering FSP in Thailand, a professor will travel with the group. In terms of my earth science FSP, we actually had a total of, I think, 10 professors fly out, meet us where we were, and lead a segment for 2 or so weeks. But in general, like, you don't need to worry about like getting shipped over somewhere and like having really crummy classes. You're going to have great classes, and you're going to have a professor there to make sure you're learning everything the way you need to.
Well said, well said. And so we're going to have our final question now. It comes from Sabrina, and it's a really good one. I can't think of a better one to wrap up this chat. But talking about it, is there a lot of hands-on work at Thayer, and thinking about, utilizing, resources, equipment, and that are made available to undergraduates at Thayer that perhaps at larger engineering schools are not nearly as available, or where you have to be a grad student in order to work with a particular machine. I mean, can you talk about that experience?
Absolutely. There's so much hands-on work at Thayer, right from the get-go, with the introductory course. You're building a project. You're doing prototyping in all sorts of different materials. It's really incredible, even with like the number of students that take the introductory course. We had, I believe, 80 in this last segment. I was a teaching assistant for it, so I led a group of 4 through the design process there. But they're able to fully utilize the machine shop, where we have machines to work with metal and any kind of plastic you can imagine. We also have a rapid prototyping machine, which is really, really cool. It's basically like the most accurate hot glue gun you've ever heard of. It uses a spool of basically hot glue or something like it that will melt and then come out of a nozzle. And you can basically print several layers of this, and you can make complex 3D shapes with voids inside, all sorts of cool stuff. It's an incredibly cool machine that I don't think engineers, undergraduate engineers, would get anywhere near at many other institutions. So that's just one example. I just finished a mechanical engineering course where we built a robot over the course of the term. There are very few courses that don't require some type of project work, hands-on, manifesting what you're learning in class.
Terrific. Well, so I just want to, in closing, thank all of you for logging in to this live video and chat, and for the questions that you offered, and thank you so much to Kevin for coming in the middle of towards the end of finals week, but certainly after at the end of a very busy time, and just loved hearing about all of those experiences that you shared, and it was fascinating. And just a few closing announcements. We will encourage you to continue to visit the admissions website, dartmouth.edu/admissions, for videos and for blogs, pictures, FAQs, all kinds of resources that are available to you there. Remind you that the regular decision application deadline is January 1st, and like I mentioned at the top of the chat, we are notifying early decision applicants of their admissions decisions on Friday, December 10th, this Friday, and keep an eye on the schedule online for future video chats. We have a couple of more great ones coming up this month. Later this month, and including next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern for another admissions edition of the office hours. And 2 of my colleagues, John and Sarah, are going to be hosting a session about application essays. So
wish we'd
really nice topic. And then 2 weeks from tonight, a special one that I want to be sure to plug, which is a last-minute application tips video chat with our Dean of Admissions, Maria Lascaris. So we hope that you'll be here for those. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. Thanks again, Kevin, and have a nice evening. All right.